Have you been wondering when you have this great podcast, you have this great radio show? Have you been wondering to yourself, hey, I got everything set up, I got it the way I want, but the guests I've been having on my show, they're cool, but like I need like that dynamic person, that person that just kind of stands out from everybody that could be in their field, whatever it might be. That's going to have this exciting conversation, this engaging conversation. They fit what I'm trying to do. I don't have to worry about if I got to press, a censor button when they talking, whatever it might be. Like they just understand the assignment. Well, guess what? We are here tonight to help you in your endeavor to make sure that you have the right guest for not only any platform, your platform, because it's all about you. And with that said, that's Marion.
It's Joe.
And I am a podcast pro.
Listen, pro. You're doing everything very purposefully. There it is. Purposefully are resilient as things are coming up and things are changing and you're getting thrown curveballs. You catching them and throwing them back with precision. You know why? Because you're outstanding. You're standing out as your amazing, unique self. And it is our honor and our privilege to be here cultivating the voice behind the mic, the person, the thinking, the way that you're presenting yourself behind the mic, whether you're a host or a guest.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So tonight, the thing about when you're trying to get somebody on your show, you don't just want okay. You don't just want mediocre. You don't even really just want good. You want the best. You want simply the best. And so tonight, we are going to help you all figure out how you vet a guest before you get a guest.
Ooh.
You hear
That's
that?
hot.
You like that one, Mary? You like that one?
We are here to help you vet a guest before you get a guest.
That's right.
Listen, and that is be a guest as well.
That's right. That's right. That's
It
right.
doesn't matter what side of the table you're on, you're behind that mic. All of this applies to you whether you're host, guest, or presenter. You want to make sure all these boxes are checked, and we're here to show you the boxes. Where we going to start at, Joe?
Well, I think the first place that we have to start when it comes to that vetting process is building rapport. And the thing about rapport is that that's the most important thing, because a lot of times, what I've come to find, sometimes people, they'll search for guests, or even guests, they'll search for shows, and they'll put, they'll shoot their shot, and sometimes it works, but then sometimes it's like, okay, you're cool, but I think when you establish that rapport with somebody, it really kind of sort of generates a little bit more energy before you even take it a step further. And what I mean by rapport is you don't necessarily have to be best friends with somebody. Not saying that, but it's just like establishing some sort of a relationship. And I'll give you a perfect example. So on social media, a lot of times, like I find myself just interacting with people. Like if I see people having interesting conversations about something, like I might contribute to the conversation, or if I'm leading the conversation about something and I see somebody comment on it and they have a quality comment, or I give a quality comment, a lot of times, like especially in the social media world, that's where that rapport starts to build, because you start to recognize it's like, okay, we're kind of like-minded in these areas. I like what kind of commentary that you give. I like your perspective on things. You're very layered. You have a lot of energy, or whatever it might be. But specifically, you and I gel together. Like that's the first step. More specifically, like on my podcast, on Bring Back the Love Conversation. So, in fact, I'll give you three quick examples. So, one brother I had on my show, I have known this brother for 11 years, going back to 2013. He and I met at a performance. We both were rapping at this show. And the interesting thing about it, when he expressed interest to want to come on this particular podcast, which is an R&B podcast, I found it interesting because I really thought about it. I was like, wow, I've known this brother all of this time. We always have great conversations. He's so cool, whatever. But I would have never thought that, of all the things that I would bring him on any of my platforms for, it would be for R&B, considering that he's a rapper. But that was the thing that I realized in having more conversations with him. I'm like, oh yeah, he definitely would be perfect. So not only did he come on my podcast once, he came on there twice. And so, because that rapport that we built beforehand, and me understanding is like that's something that's really passionate for him, but also understanding his music, the type of music that he makes. Like, it's not just, yes, he's hip hop, but a lot of it is R&B. It's got that kind of undertone to it. So building that rapport with him and getting to know him a little bit better than just saying, hey, come on my show, or him just saying, hey, I want to be on your show. I know who he is because we built that over time. So that's one example. But in situations where you might not know somebody as long as, say, 10, 11 years, I had two other young ladies come on my show. One that I had known probably, I'd say, 5 or 6 months before she came on, before I invited her on. And then the other young lady, I probably only known her like a couple of weeks. But in the conversations that I had with them, getting to know like the type of things that they're interested in, their principles, their philosophies on life, how excited they get about music, specifically the one sister that I had known a shorter period of time. She really loves R&B music, and specifically 90s R&B music. And it was perfect for the conversation. But that's the type of stuff that you build, getting that rapport with somebody. You have to spend that time getting to know that person beyond just surface conversation, or beyond just the fact that they just seem like they would be a cool fit for your program, or they might be a good guest. It's like, okay, I'm going to get to know you before I even get to that step of wanting to invite you on my program. So that's the first step, rapport. So what would you say the next step in that process, that vetting process, would be?
All right. The next step in that vetting process after rapport, I would say you meet this person. I guess to kind of niche even deeper into that rapport would be the temperature, how to gauge that temperature with the person. And I think that's groomed through rapport because, as examples you just gave, one is built over time in a relationship and the other was instantaneous. You knew that chemistry was there. You knew that conversation was going to be there. And that reminds us, me, of an example of us when we did on my platform, Confident You, when we did the 50th anniversary of hip hop. That was, we had never had that conversation before. We had never discussed it.
Yeah.
But I knew exactly who to call when it was the 50th anniversary of hip. There was no one else in my Rolodex of my mind that I could call that was going to be able to come through with the genealogy. Is that correct?
Hey, we'll run with that. I like that.
We're gonna
I
run with
like
that. The
that. Yeah, yeah. I
genealogy
like that.
of the geniusology. Ha ha. The
Come on, boss.
geniusology
With the
of hip
bars.
hop. You hear me? The geniusology of hip hop. I literally knew. I said, "Oh, I can play this." I made up a game. I had never had a game on my show, but I already knew the chemistry that we had. I already knew your love for hip hop, not
Yeah.
just the enjoyment of the music, which is not a bad thing. So I'm not doing bad air quotes. It's not a bad thing, but your love of the where it's come from, the actual birthing of it, and just telling that story and how it's just changed over time or grown over time, should I say. Just
Yeah.
your respect for that art
Mhm.
I said that's it. I know who should be my guest. So just that episode there is a prime example for me of that instantaneous. A lot of my episodes are built on that rapport and relationship. And that temperature is very, very important.
Mhm.
It determines the relevancy of the topic. You were the guest who was relevant to the 50th anniversary of hip hop for me.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's why it's relevant. When it was Veterans Day, literally the person I was interviewing was a veteran.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't plan it. That's how it unfolded. It was that one was like just a nugget. That was that built relationship. And then I found out what? Someone texted me like, yo, I hear you got so and so on your show. This is so apropos. She's a veteran. Wait, I'm sorry. Say what now? So it's that you'll start to just unearth those things. But the things I want to get to, the things that you need to get to know with the person, you need to get what I knew when we did our episode was I knew your personality. I knew your personality, so I knew if I drop these questions in there, this quiz in there, he's going to be fine. Even though he's never seen it on my platform, he has no idea what's coming. I don't need to pre-tell him because we have that instantaneous chemistry. And then there is that point of view. I knew that you were an expert on the topic and had a point of view, and that anything that I brought to the table that was kind of basic, you could then dress it and make it the beautiful presentation that it needed to be out of respect for the topic at hand, hip hop. So, in that energy that we had going, yes, the laughter was roaring, especially when I was asking the questions, trying my best not to give the answer away because I was so excited to be talking about hip hop with you. And
Yeah.
then I would say that conversation style. Let me tell you, this is the most important component to that temperature is that
Mhm.
conversation style. Let me tell you, you want someone, I'm speaking to all of those who know I am a podcast pro because you want your episodes to simply be the best. As a
Mhm.
guest or as a host,
Yes.
you want to make sure that it is in that moment on that topic for that time you are presenting simply the best.
That's
So
right.
you want to make sure that conversation style is not speaking fear.
Mhm.
You don't want it to breed doubt. You don't want it to be just doom and gloom. There are poignant things that you need to bring up that are just facts. This is what it is. But my hope is that your platform is one that would be grooming faith, belief,
Mhm.
hope, good expectation that what the person is talking about after you learn it or apply it to your life, your business, your finances, uh, your relationships, whatever that topic at hand is, that there's a good expectation of good. There's going to be a good outpouring after I intake this information. Listen, the
Mhm.
next thing is timing. You want to
Mhm.
make sure you're talking with someone who y'all that timing is really really good. You're not
Yes.
constantly going over each other and being cut off and disrespected in a manner of being cut off in a way that makes it sound like what you're saying is not important. It's not valid. No one's thinking about that. So you better watch who you get on there because that timing will tell you. It will tell you the temperament of the person that you
Mhm.
have because that temperament speaks to their natural nature, which affects their behavior while they're on your platform or while you're on their platform as a
Yeah.
guest. Listen,
Yes.
in that last section, you want to check their tutelage. Do they have the tools in their box to be able to expound on that topic and actually articulate it in such a manner that someone can receive?
Mhm.
that someone
Hmm.
can understand, that someone can gain new thinking, that someone can raise in their living, in their life, in their understanding. You want to make sure that temperature is that important. I hand it back over to you, Joe. What do you think the third, simply the best key would be?
Well, you actually alley-ooped me very well, like you were Jason Kidd or Magic Johnson or somebody. And, like you just handed it right off to me, and I'm gonna slam dunk it right into professionalism. And it is
Hey.
the reason why it's a segue and a perfect alley-oop is because one of the things when it comes to being professional, yes, we could get into that next step in terms of like, okay, you've built that rapport with that person, like you know more or less who they are. You've gauged their temperature. You know exactly what type of energy they're going to bring, what their conversation style is. But the key word that you said at the end of your piece about temperature is tutelage. And how that segues is you want somebody that's on your show that's able to teach the people something, that people are able to actually learn something from your guest that's on your show. Because the bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, this is your platform. And you don't want people that are just rambling and just talking to the air and wasting time and just loving to hear themselves talk. You want to be able to present somebody to your community that's able to give them something, give them a tangible that they can step away with and feel like, okay, I came away from like I spent my time, my half hour, my hour, my 2 hours of my time that I could have been doing anything else. I decided to do it watching this. This person is on this platform and they gave me something that I wouldn't have been able to get anywhere else. That's the type of stuff that you want people that you have on your platform to be able to do. Somebody that the people can actually benefit from the information that they're getting. Um, and that the information is vital, something that's helpful, something that changes somebody's life. So that's part of the professionalism component. But another part of the professionalism component is that just because you develop rapport with somebody and just because somebody has the right, what seems to be the right energy, because that's the key. All of these things that it's almost like getting them to the Greek. Okay, you done reel me in with your rapport, you done reel me in with your temperature. Okay, can you be professional? If I, as a podcast host, ask for a certain number of things that are going to help me to make sure that I have all of my information right, that I am helping you give your information in the way that you need to present it, then I need certain things from you and I need them in a timely fashion. You have to let those things be known as a podcast host. And even on the guest side, if there are certain things that you need in order to make sure that, yes, you have the rapport, yes, you have the temperature, but let's really amplify this experience of me coming on your show or you coming on my show. Like it's an exchange. That's the key thing. It's an exchange between two people. It's also an exchange between two communities because I always like to look at things like a Venn diagram and everything overlaps somehow. So if I'm bringing on my people from over here as a host, you're bringing all your people from over here as a guest. It's like, how can all of these things meet in the middle so that everybody involved gets something out of it? So that means if I need your picture, make sure I have your picture. If I need, like, if you're an artist and you have music, if I need actual MP3s, ask me, can I send you Spotify links? Can I send you Apple Music links? Make it clear. Like some people, yeah, they can play the links, but if I give you very specific things, I need those things. If I give you a very specific timetable of when I need those things, I need those things. If I need your bio, if I need your website, if I need your social media info, I need all of those things. Because the last thing that you want to get to is, I will give an example. I don't ever name names because I don't like to throw people out there. But I will say I had a situation. This was going on 5 years ago on the Balance and Act radio show that I hosted. This was the flagship radio show before I did all of the branch shows. So on the flagship show, I had this one brother. Me and the brother are still cool to this day. But when I say this brother tried to last minute me with everything, I told him when I needed everything, I needed pictures, I needed music, I needed bios, I needed social media handles so I can tag people. I need all of these things. Literally the day before the show, this man still hadn't sent me everything that I needed. And although, again, he and I are still cool to this day, I never had him on any of my platforms. Now, I had one of his artists on the platform because one of his artists was ready. He was ready. He had everything that he needed. He got me everything that I needed for the show on time. And me and that brother, not only did I have him on the show that time, I had him on the show again. And then I collaborated with him on a bunch of other things because he and I developed a rapport kind of quick. Like just on that show, he and I developed a rapport. Then he had the right temperature, and he was a professional. Anything I needed, when I needed it, he got it to me on time. And that's the type of stuff that you want. And not only that, his story was something that really gave the people something that they could leave with, that they felt like, okay, I didn't just waste 45 minutes, an hour watching this guy just talk. Like this guy actually was saying something. That's the type of guest that you want on your platform. And you have to nail all three of those things down. And that professionalism piece is absolutely paramount, because the last thing that you want is somebody that's going to come on your platform and they've knocked out those first two things, but then they get on your show and all of that professionalism completely goes out the window. You could have a specific format. Say you don't allow cursing on your show, and you tell this person, hey, no cursing on the show, this is that and the third. And then it's F-bombs and all of these different things just flying all over the place. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, we discussed this beforehand. Like, what's going on? You know, like you need a beat, you need a moment. You know, you have to, the key to professionalism is not just on the guest. It's on you as the host to let it be known what your guidelines are, what your expectations are. And can you, as my guest on my platform, because that's the thing, you have to remember, you are allowing somebody to come on your platform. They're not entitled to be on your platform. You are allowing them to come on your platform. And that professionalism component is key. You got to make sure that they are professional as often as possible. Yes, it can go off the rails here and there, but for the most part, can they remain professional and realize that they are on a platform? They have a brand that they have, you have a brand that you have, but at the end of the day, as the host, you have to protect your brand first. As a guest, you have to protect your brand first. And that's how you got to understand whether or not you're going to be a right fit for somebody's podcast or somebody's going to be the right fit for your podcast. So, recapping this thing, Marion.
My goodness. So much was said.
Yeah.
And I'm here with you. I couldn't just imagine how many times someone is going to have to stop and replay just to write down the blueprint that was just laid out on vetting your guests.
Yeah.
Why? Because you simply want the best. Listen, first, before we get into that, I do want to say, hey, she reigns the web. I appreciate you coming through, stopping through. And Hancho Elbe. I pray I said your name correctly. Listen, I appreciate you stepping in and following through with us and really getting something from this discussion. I appreciate both of you being here. But my recap, I have so much to say. I'm going to try and keep it to a minimum. You said so many things. Like I starred, understand the assignment, but then you unpacked it from rapport down to professional, because you need to actually go over your format of your show and the things that you need as a guest or a host. You definitely want to go through those things. Listen, the things that I wanted to touch on something you said and add, you were saying to turn in your social media, your picture, your website, your any, examples or anything that you have that's going to be pertaining to the show, and also having the audience be able to connect with you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say you want to get your press package together.
Mm-hmm.
That is not something that you should be assembling at the last moment.
Yep.
That should be something, those emails and all that information should already be in your draft. So you can just add that name and hit send.
Mm-hmm.
It's that easy. Or kept in a folder so you can just drag and drop and send. If you have an upcoming event, this is where people kind of get me on my show, have gotten me on my show. And I was like, I thought I asked that. But then we're in the show and they go, oh yeah, at the end. Oh yeah. And we have this. And I'm like, you would have said that, we could have presented it better so it wouldn't just be a brush by. It would be presented better for everyone to receive and know that this is going on. You're starting a podcast, you're running a webinar, you're doing this free class, you have a book coming out. Whatever that thing is, you want to make sure you are the first person that's advertising you, so you can't forget the stuff you got going on.
That's right.
That press package, that's what that is. A press packet. And that last thing I want to touch on is, you said, because you don't want to allow anybody on your platform and you don't want to allow yourself to be on anyone's platform. I would say that would be selective.
Mm-hmm.
Be strategic.
Mm-hmm.
Where you go, who you talk to, and what you're talking about.
Yep.
I think that's my recap for that.
Yes. And that's a great recap. And I just want to pull on one thing that you said when you talked about temperature, and that's timing. It's easy for people to talk over one another or get excited to talk about a particular topic. And sometimes those things can jumble over top of each other. On the flip side of that, you don't want to get to those points where you feel like you got to really pull stuff out of people. You know what I mean? Like feeling like, okay, it's all of this dead space, or it's like these really short answers that really don't get to the heart of the conversation, or you feel like you really have to pull teeth in order to get them to talk. Like that timing is a lot like comedic timing on sitcoms. People spend that time together and they kind of sort of get each other's rhythm and they flow within that rhythm. It actually kind of sort of goes to what Hancho El Bay said in the comments. You must follow the flow of discussion. And that's another key to following the flow of discussion, is that you have to understand, like, there is a rhythm to the discussion. So you have to know when to jump in, when not to jump in. That's another way of gauging that temperature. So yeah, I think these are some great keys that people can take with them and really go out and get the best possible guests that they can get for their show, or seek out the best possible podcast that you want to get on. You know what I'm saying? Because it's really key to have that rapport, know the temperature, and be professional at all times. And with that, we'd like everybody to make sure that you follow us at I Am a Podcast Pro. Make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at I Am a Podcast Pro. We are also on Instagram and Facebook at I Am a Podcast Pro. If you have any questions or suggestions for the future, or it could just be about anything that has to do with podcasting, please make sure that you email us at IamAPodcastPro@gmail.com. Once again, that is IamAPodcastPro@gmail.com. And we keep saying I Am a Podcast Pro one more time. What's that pro stand for?
Pro, P, purposeful. In everything that you do, have a purpose, and then you won't have trash. I'm just saying. R, resilient. In everything that you do, have a positive mindset. You're going to figure it out. You're going to be able to get through that interview, even if the guest isn't giving you a lot, because if you got to fill in the gaps, you know what to say.
Mhm.
Oh, outstanding. Stand out as your uniquely amazing self. You are the only you, and your voice needs to be heard.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we thank you all for tuning in, whether you tuned in tonight live or you tune in on a replay. We appreciate you for tapping in and getting this great information to really help you to just elevate your podcasting game to the next level. So, once again, I am Joe,
And I am Marion.
and we will see you.
I am a
Yes.
podcast pro. I couldn't help but say it.
Yeah, that's all good. You got to say it again. It's so good. You got to say it one more again. That's right. That's right.
Oh my goodness. All right. Y'all have a good night.
Peace.